Dear friends, welcome to this week's virtual drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to Parshas Toldos. And the parsha begins in a seemingly straightforward way. Ela Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram. These are the generations of Yitzchak, the son of Avram. Avram holy des Yitzchak. Avram Avinu birthed Yitzchak. And the Torah goes on that Yitzchak Avinu vayhi Yitzchak ben Arbaim Shana bekachto es Rivka bas Besuel Aramin. Yitzchak Avinu was 40 years old when he went ahead and he married Rivka, the daughter of Besuel, the sister of Lavan, lo le'ish, and he took her as a wife. And interestingly enough, the Rabbi points out that it's almost as if the Torah is reintroducing us to Yitzchak Avinu. Eva told us Yitzchak ben Avram, Avram holy des Yitzchak. We're once again almost getting the biography of Yitzchak Avinu, obviously setting the stage for what is going to be the birth and ultimately maturation and dramatic story of Yaakov and Esav. And the Rebbe asks a very interesting idea, or a very interesting question. He says, if the Torah is indeed reintroducing us to Yitzchak Avinu, as it sounds like it's doing, why does it start at the age of 40? So much happened in Yitzchak Avinu's life before he married Rivka. Remember, we've been following Yitzchak Avinu's story even before his mother was pregnant with him. Back in Parshas Vayera, when the Malachim announced the birth of Yitzchak, we have been glued to this story. We have been watching the evolution of this dramatic narrative of the second of the patriarchs. And we've seen everything up through, again, at the end of Parshas Vayera. We saw the entire episode, again, with the Akedah. And yet the Rebbe says over here, we're being reintroduced to Yitzchak, and yet the Torah is picking up his life narrative at the age of 40, when he gets married. If you want to reintroduce Yitzchak to us, Eila Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram, and you're going back to his birth, Avram holy des Yitzchak, so you're taking us back to when he was born, why not give us like a little bit of a quick summary about everything else that happened? Why are you jumping right to his marriage? The Rebbe says, Af shebemeshech arba'im shnos chaya lifnei nisuav erlo dvarim rabim. There are so many things that happened to Yitzchak over the last 40 years. Chief among them, Barosham, Nisayan HaAkedah, the Akedah. And remember again, this is even stronger because even when we look at the Akedah in the Torah and Parshas Vayera, the Akedah is very much framed as Avram Avinu's story. Right? Avram Avinu is really the central character in there, but there are two central characters. Yitzchak Avinu also was the one who was willing to lay himself down on the altar, willingness to go ahead and offer himself up. Now, even if you want to say that the willingness of a father to sacrifice his son is greater than the willingness of a yid to sacrifice himself, fine. But says the Rebbe, if you're reintroducing us to Yitzchak Avinu, give us his story. Tell us about the Akedah. And Chazal tell us, the Medrash tells us that after the Akedah, Yitzchak Avinu did not go back with Avram. He didn't go back. And that's why, again, in Parshas Chai Sarah, ultimately it's Avram who buries Sarah. There's no mention of Yitzchak. And Chazal, the rabbis teach us, the Medrash says, because Yitzchak Avinu didn't go back, where did he go? He spent 3 years in Gan Eden. Now, whatever that exactly means, and whatever he was doing in Gan Eden for 3 years, clearly it's dramatic. So says the Rebbe, why not share that information with us? Again, if you're already reintroducing the Yitzchak narrative to us, why are you picking up at the age of 40 when he gets married? Why not reference the Akedah? Why not reference his 3 years in Gan Eden? And the Rebbe says something so beautiful, and this is really incredible. He says, L'lamdecha, this teaches a profound lesson. Shetachlis hakavana eina mesiras hanefesh o ha'aliyah legan Eden. Because the Rebbe says the metric of success, spiritual success in life, is not the Akedah, and it's not Gan Eden. Meaning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not expect spiritual heroism from us. He knows that if we are called upon to be spiritually heroic, we will answer the call. If a Jew is asked to lay his life down on the altar, he'll do so. He'll do so because we have thousands of years of history to back up that assertion that embedded within the DNA of the Jew is the power to give everything for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mesiras Nefesh. Similarly, the metric of spiritual success is not Gan Eden. Everyone could have moments where they are in Gan Eden. Everyone could have moments of tremendous spiritual aliyah, tremendous spiritual ascension, and tremendous spiritual success. So if the Akedah is not the metric of spiritual success, right? If self-sacrifice, and if Gan Eden, ultimately moments of just dramatic spiritual inspiration, if that's not the metric of success, so what is the metric of success for the Jew? And the Rebbe says something so beautiful. He says, Ella Beirar Ha'olam, Asiyas dira lo yispara petachtonim. The metric of spiritual success is the ability to create a life in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu is your partner day in and day out. It's the ability to create a home, to build a personality in which the Ribono Shel Olam is part of my day-to-day life. It's the ability to build a marriage in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu is part of my day-to-day life. It's the ability to raise children with an awareness that you must bring God into your day-to-day life. Says the Rabbi, those things, those are the metrics of success. Anyone can burn brightly episodically. Anyone could do something dramatic, right? We do. The truth is, dear friends, I know this is going to sound maybe even a little bit arrogant. All of us have the ability to be a Yitzchak Avinu on the Akedah. How do I know this? Because we've been doing this for the millennia. We've been doing this for generations. Ordinary Jews have summoned within themselves the power to lay their lives down for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for Am Yisrael, for Eretz Yisrael. Are we not coming off the heels of a war in which we saw the simplest of Jews rise to the highest levels of Mesiras Nefesh, of self-sacrifice for Am Yisrael, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for Eretz Yisrael? That we could do. And just like every Jew has the ability to have those moments where you're in Gan Eden, we've all had those moments of where, like, I am so inspired, I'm so on fire, I'm so uplifted. But that's not the metric of success. The metric of success is, how do you live your life day in and day out? What does my life look like when I get up in the morning? What does my life look like when I go to sleep at night? And what does it look like everything in between? How do I conduct my business dealings? How do I treat my spouse? How do I raise my children? Am I charitable with the money that I work hard for? Do I have midos tovos, proper character traits? Do I treat Jew and Gentile with incredible respect? Says the Lubavitcher Rebbe, these are the things, these are the metrics of spiritual success. Anyone could have great moments of glory, but that's exactly what they are. Great moments of glory. But life is not about those moments. Life is about the everyday. Life is about the day in and the day out. Rabbi Soloveitchik wrote this yisod. He said, people think that the greatest accomplishment is dying al Kiddush Hashem. The Rav said that there's something even more difficult or even greater than dying al Kiddush Hashem, and that's living al Kiddush Hashem. Why? Because you only have to summon up the power to die al Kiddush Hashem once. But to live al Kiddush Hashem, that requires a daily commitment. That requires daily work. And therefore, says the Lubavitcher Rebbe so beautifully, this is why the Torah in this week's parasha, Ela Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram, Avram Holides Yitzchak. Yes, the Torah is reintroducing us to the second of the patriarchs, the bridge patriarch, the Av, the father, who was able to take the dynamic activity of his father, solidify it, bolster it, so that his son Yaakov could build a magnificent spiritual edifice upon it. And when the Torah reintroduces us to Yitzchak, it says, do you know what the greatness of Yitzchak was? The greatness of Yitzchak? It wasn't the Akedah. I know it sounds crazy. That was great, but that's not his pinnacle of accomplishment. It wasn't the fact that he spent 3 years in Gan Eden. Do you know what the greatness of Yitzchak Avinu was? Vayhi arboim shana bekachto es Rivka ben Besualhar. The greatness of Yitzchak is that he built a home. He built a life. He raised children. The greatness of Yitzchak Avinu was that he infused the Ribono Shel Olam into his day-to-day life. And the truth is, if you think about it, this is Yitzchak Avinu in general. You know, the Gemara tells us that the Avos introduced the concept of prayer at different times during the day. Avram Avinu davened in the morning, Yaakov Avinu davened at night, and Yitzchak was the afternoon. If you think about this whole motif of Avram Avinu was at the dawn of monotheism. It was exciting. There was like this burst of spiritual energy. Yaakov Avinu, again, is at night. There's so much difficulty, uncertainty. So, of course, it's easy to find God at the poles. But what does Yitzchak Avinu do? Mincha, middle of the day, just going about your day, going about your life. You got to bring God in there also. You can't just bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the morning when everything is exciting and everything is bright and everything is beautiful and inspired in Gan Eden. And you can't just bring in HaKadosh Baruch Hu at night when there are challenges and difficulties and Akedos and Mesiras Nefesh. You got to figure out a way to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu into day-to-day life, just mincha. just the middle of the day, when nothing exceptional or extraordinary is occurring. But that's dafka when you have to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu into your life. It says, Rabbi, that's why Eila Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram. Do you want to know what the greatness of Yitzchak was? He built a marriage, he built a home, he raised children, and he built a life in which he included HaKadosh Baruch Hu every single step of the way. And what a dramatic, beautiful, and incredible lesson for us. It is easy. Nothing's easy. But it is. We understand intuitively that ultimately we could summon up the power for an Akedah. And each of us, dear friends, has that koach. That if HaKadosh Baruch Hu needed me to lay down my life for him, I would be ready to answer that call. We would all be ready to answer that call. And we all have those beautiful moments of spiritual elation when we get to live in Gan Eden for a little bit. And those moments, on those two poles, Akedah and Gan Eden moments, are incredible. But that's not the metric of success. The metric of success is Vahi Arba'im Shana Bekachtas Rivka Bas Besual Ha'arami Lo Li'isha. The metric of success is, can you bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu into your day-to-day life? When you wake up in the morning, how does my day start? How does my day end? And what do I fill my time with? And do I bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu everywhere with me? He should be with me in the Beis Medrash, in the boardroom, and in the bedroom. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that godliness, that holiness, that spirituality should be part of every aspect of my life. It should inform the way I conduct my relationships, the way I conduct my marriage, the way I raise my children, the way I run my business, and the way I treat people. If I can bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu into every area of my life, I'll be a Mincha Jew, a Yitzchak Avinu Jew, then yes, I know I'll have the extreme poles, the Akedah moments and the Gan Eden moments. But that's not at the end of the day what measures the spiritual success of the Jew. The spiritual success of the Jew is measured by one simple thing. Can I bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu into day-to-day life? Yitzchak Avinu did it, and we, his spiritual children, have been endowed with the koach to do the same. May we be zochem Yirtzeh Hashem, to be successful in the most beautiful yet ordinary of holy missions. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh.